Welcome to the Healthful Mind Clinic. Today I am talking to our breathwork and life coach instructor, Lorien Holiday, and we are talking breathwork. One reason why we are talking this now, if you are seeing this not long after we've made this recording, is on the 18th of May, Lorien will be running several taster classes, including those in breathwork, but there will be regular courses and classes starting from June. So do check out the website at healthfulmindclinic.co.uk for more details. So I'll leave Lorien to introduce himself, and then we're just going to discuss the many benefits of breathwork and what it entails. So maybe a little demonstration as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Alexa. Yes, so I am Lorien Holiday. I am a breathwork coach, life coach, NLP qualified practitioner, and also a personal trainer. So I'm a man of many talents, all focused on health and well-being and helping people get a better quality of life as we live longer, finding the tools to help people live better for longer. So breathwork is something that's really captured my imagination and has just been reinforced through the pandemic. I was a childhood sufferer of asthma and had some fairly severe childhood allergies as well. So I've had plenty of breathing challenges in my life, and that has sort of spilled over into my adult life, but in a more minor way. I've sort of grown out in quotes of many of these situations directly, but I certainly felt the legacy of the situation. When I was doing my activities, my exercises, I was never quite as fit as I felt I should be, considering the volume of work that I did. So getting into the breath work has certainly helped remedy that, learning to breathe properly, diaphragmatic breathing, letting your tummy breathe, letting the ribs start to move. And something on that subject, reflecting on recently, actually, breathing properly, breathing correctly, and allowing all the ribs and the structures to move also helps reduce back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain. So even if you're not interested in breath work because it helps calm your mind, if you're not interested in breath work because it can improve your lung health, which is particularly interesting in a pandemic situation, then actually breath work is also useful for helping your body move properly and correctly, and can reduce, as I say, orthopedic pain in certain cases. So it's a really fascinating topic, and certainly something that deserves a lot more attention and a lot more focus. And I think the reason that it doesn't get the focus in the media and in the medical industry is because once you know how to do it, there's no sort of ongoing cost to breath work, if you like. You can't.
Yeah, you can't buy it in a packet, can you?
Exactly. You can't sell it in a bottle or anything like that. But breath work has been used for thousands of years for medicinal purposes, certainly for health and well-being purposes, and even to create warmth whilst monks were in the monasteries in the Himalayas, freezing up the mountains. They were just using breath work to keep warm. So it's really a fascinating thing.
Yeah. So I mean, one of my favorite sayings, and something that I teach my clients very early on, is if in doubt, breathe out. So the work I do is very much about the nervous systems, and when somebody is stressed and anxious, then they're in their sympathetic nervous system, so that fight and flight state, and the breath is one of the first thing that changes, because that's what we're designed to do. So their bodies are working perfectly well when they start to rapid chest breathe, but if they're doing that throughout the day when they're not in a situation where they're going to run or fight, they can almost forget how to use their diaphragm. And the first time that they actually, for instance, they'll say, oh, well, I feel like I can't get my breath, I can't breathe in. And I've seen this as the same with asthma, because both of my children are asthma sufferers. And I would know when my son was having an asthma attack when I would pick him up from nursery, because his chest would be out here. And it's like the body in that need for oxygen, and the same as in a stress situation, just keeps breathing in. It's like, if I keep breathing in, I'll get more oxygen, I'll get what I need. But I'm like, no, actually what you need to do is breathe out. because you've forgotten to do that. And if you breathe out, then especially with the anxious clients, and I say, right, breathe out as much as you can, give it that last little at the end. So squeeze your belly and then breathe in through your nose and just watch where it goes. And they're like, oh, wow, oh, this is how you breathe in then. But all the time they've been so focused on trying to get more oxygen in.
Yes.
So I love Joseph Pilates saying, as it's the first thing we do in life and the last. What a shame that millions of people never learn to do it properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So,
we develop so many bad habits.
yeah.
And the modern life that we live, when we're sat so often, and we're in stressful environments, and you alluded to the fact that you know the fight or flight sympathetic system is triggered, but we can't use it in the way that it was designed originally. You know, you can't run away from your office as much as you might like to, or you can't. Yeah, so we end up in this state of elevated stress almost permanently. We can do, it's certainly something we can find ourselves in. And our breathing is continuously sort of dysfunctional. And yes, we find ourselves in this pattern of stress breathing. And as you said, not using your diaphragm properly and over oxygenating. So I've studied with a guy called Patrick McEwen. He has this oxygen advantage program of breath. And it's very much about breathing less, because, and as you said, breathing out is one of the key things of relaxation. I completely agree, because most people are over breathing. We're hyperventilating to a point almost permanently, particularly if we're mouth breathing. And yes, and it's actually over oxygenation in the system and a depletion of carbon dioxide, which causes that stress response and that panic response. So what I focus on doing is slowing the breath down, and we can absolutely do a very simple demonstration in a minute of a really great calming technique, slowing the breath down, helping the body adapt to a healthy level of carbon dioxide in the blood, which is actually necessary for the transfer of gases. The oxygen needs carbon dioxide to enter the cells in the body. If you deplete your carbon dioxide by hyperventilating, it becomes harder for the body to do that, and you end up in this sort of vicious loop, overbreathing because you think you need more oxygen, when in fact the slower breath would allow you to be far more efficient with it.
Yeah, I recently read James Nestor's book, Breathe. And so there's a lot of science, and he puts himself through various challenges. And so I decided to experiment one day. I really wish I hadn't, so don't do this at home, anyone. He talks about, so he's going through this experiment where his nose is blocked up, and he has to do various challenges to have sleep apnea and all this other sort of physical symptoms and changes occur, stress symptoms and all sorts of negative health issues. I think blood sugar was part of it. All sorts of stuff changes within his body when his nose is bunged up. And he said that you should, when you exercise, breathe through your nose. So I decided to walk around the block and try and breathe through my nose. Now, I live on a hill, and it's like this. And when I walk up that hill, my Fitbit tells me I've gone up 11 flights of stairs. So that's how steep the hill is. And I gave myself a vertigo attack that lasted 2 days, trying to only breathe through my nose. But that sensation of oxygen starvation, I'm not very fit, by the way. So, you know, a fitter person may have been able to do this. But I understand that divers use it to increase their ability to breathe under, to hold their breath underwater for longer. And so, I mean, the use of learning to breathe properly is immense. And before we came on camera, we were talking a bit, weren't we, about the health benefits of how you can actually address various health conditions by using the breath. And going back to what you said about the chronic hyperventilation syndrome, I feel that a lot of people with fibromyalgia, because these are often my client base, they nearly always breathe wrongly. They have this chronic hyperventilation syndrome, which comes also from being in pain. Because if you think about when you're in pain, you don't open up, you don't relax, especially if it's abdominal or shoulder pain. The tension that they're holding in their body stops them breathing properly. And when I read a whole book on chronic hyperventilation syndrome, and they were explaining that when you're not getting rid of your carbon dioxide, because of that very, very fine balance that we have with homeostasis, that the body produces lactic acid to balance out that acid alkali balance that should be in the blood, that normally comes from the oxygen and carbon dioxide, that in itself should balance it. So the body then produces lactic acid, and that's why we can get aches and pains and feel like we've been hit by a bus, and actually all they've been doing is not breathing properly. And within a week of giving people just very, very basic breathwork exercises, teaching them to use their diaphragm and this long, slow out breath, a lot of their aches and pains often disappear, which is, you know, really quite remarkable when they might have been taking a vast amount of painkillers that just haven't touched it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
no, I mean, the health impacts are profound, and I think people should just, people assume that they breathe like they breathe. And I think this is another thing, you know, you tell people about breath work and breathing and they're like, well, I just breathe. What is there to it? Or they think it's some sort of, you know, hokey, extreme sort of meditation version of breathing where they're sort of chanting and stuff like that. So again, I think there's you know, if you don't know about breath work, there's probably this sort of imagined sort of stigma attached to it, but actually it's very, very simple, very therapeutic, very discreet as well. That's the other thing, you know, you can do certainly the therapeutic breath work without anybody noticing. And I think that's a big factor for people. When you tell them that you don't have to call attention to yourself when you're doing your breath work, you can do it in a meeting, you can do it anywhere. And if you can fix people's, you know, a variety of medical conditions with it, then that's quite something.
So yes, it's preventative as well as curative. And so I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Shall I edit this bit out?
Yeah.
Or is it good to have a little, you know, it's live. Yes, it is preventative as well as curative. So, and now I'm going to forget the sentence again.
We were talking about fibromyalgia and how the breath work had sort of been shown to improve that, and the pain was linked to the lactic acid buildup as a result of hyperventilating.
Got it now. So a lot of my clients say, I haven't got time to breathe.
Yes.
And I say, but you're doing it anyway. So it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Yeah. So the idea is, especially with healthfulness, which is obviously what I'm promoting a bit through being called the healthful mind. Healthfulness is knowing how to do what is good for your body with your body, with your mind. So we ourselves have all these amazing tools within us. We just sort of plod along in our lives and sort of take it that what we're getting is what we should get rather than what we can actually manifest for ourselves. And I don't mean woo-woo manifest. It's in the way that you work with your body. When you understand, oh, well, if I make this adjustment with my posture, my breath, my thoughts, whatever it is, that I can experience my life completely differently. So as you say, it's something that you can do anytime, any place. But if you practice it, so formal practice, I think, is really important for anchoring that calm and relaxed state. So if you're doing it if you've given yourself the time and space to do the practice, to go to the classes, then it's very, very easy to slip it into a pressured situation. But if you haven't done it, if you haven't learnt it, and become familiar with the techniques, if the first time you think, right, I'm going to take a long, slow out breath is in the middle of a high pressure situation, the chances are you're not going to get the same amount of benefit as if you practiced it. So
And you probably will forget too as well. You
Yeah.
know, it's, you know, practicing is about, because it's about correcting the behavioral habit, right? And if your habit has always been breathing badly, and not through any fault of your own, but it's just how it's happened, right? Not breathing effectively, then yeah, as you say, when you need to change that in a pressured situation, it's never going to happen, because you will always, in a pressure situation, default to the steps you're most comfortable with. And that's a very human response. So yes, you know, by practicing and building discipline, it's the way to help you actually deliver it in a pressure situation. Just like training for the military, and this is an extreme example, but you know, they train so that when they're in a pressured situation, that you can rely on them to behave in a certain way. And the same technically applies to our breath work or anything else like that.
Yeah. So I am definitely signing up for Lorien's class, because, as I say, I mean, I teach this stuff myself, but to actually go to someone else's class is luxury. And he does relaxation classes and other things as well. So can you give us a little bit of an insight into maybe 2 or 3 of the exercises? Don't have to do the whole thing, but that people will be learning, so they know what to expect.
What to expect? Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll do the simplest one that we start with, which is a breath pause technique. Okay, and this can be used to help you feel calmer. It can be used to help re-establish the balance of carbon dioxide in your blood for the better. It's a positive thing, by the way. People think carbon dioxide is bad and oxygen is good, and we need a balance of the two. So yes, a simple breath pause technique. So you can do this sitting or lying. And again, when you're used to it, you can do it anywhere and any time. It really is an incredibly flexible technique, but it's perfect for calming the mind. It can help you get to sleep easier at night. It can help you get back to sleep if you wake up in the night, particularly if you've got sort of an anxious or an agitated mind. So you would just sit or lie somewhere comfortably, but if you're sitting, just try and sit tall. Imagine a sort of a Pilates type pose, so nice and long through the neck, tuck chin. Imagine someone's pulling up from the back with a piece of string, and you just breathe gently in and out through the nose. Allow your breath to settle into a relaxed rhythm, whatever feels comfortable for you, not challenging it at the moment, just gently in and out through the nose. And when you've relaxed with a few breaths, on the out breath, so you gently exhale through the nose, and just a natural, gentle exhale through the nose, not forcing the breath out. You pause on the empty lungs for 3 to 5 seconds, and then you just gently breathe in again. And then you resume your normal, comfortable nose breathing for 3 to 5 breaths, and then you repeat again. And you do this for 3 to 5 minutes. So you just breathe in and out gently through the nose. When you're feeling calm and comfortable, pause the out breath just for 3 to 5 seconds. It shouldn't feel stressful or particularly, you know, difficult to do that. You're not taxing your breath. This is a calming exercise. And then gently breathe in again through the nose. And then breathe normally for 3 to 5 breaths. And repeat.
You see, I was doing that while you were giving the instructions, and if anybody was watching me, they wouldn't have known I was doing it. You're absolutely right. Something that often comes up when someone first gets introduced to breathwork is they can feel a bit lightheaded, which obviously is because they're in an unfamiliar state, maybe. So how would you explain that and reassure someone that experiences that?
It's just always starting slowly with these things is the way forward, right? And making sure that you're in you're a comfortable place. Certainly when you're learning the breath work, you should always start the process, sitting or lying down somewhere calm and comfortable. And it shouldn't feel too stressful. And particularly if you're doing slower breath work. And again, if you've been used to hyperventilating, over-oxygenating, you will start to feel changes within the body. But it's just about taking it at a gentle pace that's right for you. The key thing is not to put yourself off gently practicing the process, in my opinion. And this is how I approach, all forms of training with my clients, whether it's physical training or whether it's the breathwork training or anything on the emotional side and life coaching. If you don't feel safe, then it's very difficult to build anything. So just start very simply, start very gently, as I say, with a technique like we just did there, Alexa, something very calm, very light, and build your confidence up. It's like taking baby steps with these things.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great exercise for anybody that's watching this to have a go. Come to the clinic website if you want to know more, but also on Eventbrite, our events are going up as well, and our Facebook group, or our Facebook page, Healthful Mind Clinic Facebook page. So yeah, if anybody would like to experience some more breath work, and we're going to be talking later as well in another video about calming the mind, and obviously breath work is good for that, but there's many other ways that we can do that. But for now, thank you very much, Lorien, for that insight, and yeah, we look forward to seeing you in one of our classes. Okay, thank you for now.